I need all the wins, yeah. Ain't no L's, I gotta get a no call to quits, yeah. Gotta keep on moving no matter how hard it gets, yeah. Better move out the way, cause I'm coming with harder hits. My head is as hard as a brick, but I'm harder than all of this. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. My heart on my sleeve. Shield my greed. That's how I get it. Success ain't no given. Some days I don't hit, I don't sleep. When I'm focused, I'm dangerous. They don't wonder when I'm anxious. Ain't no limit till I tank. I'm running on fumes. The opposition don't amaze. The roads racing through the pavement. Get your hands out of my bag. I know that's because I've been in it. I don't need to brag. I guess that's what happens when you taking care of your business. But some family, you do the math. I'm out of my pocket. Houston, we got a problem. I ain't perfect. Let them watch me elevating. Got them nauseous. Cause I'm the pilot in the cockpit. Nose diving in the option. Woo! Watch how I get ahead. Watch how I get ahead. Watch how I get ahead. Woo!
It's time! Welcome to DFS by the Numbers with your host, Brady.
Better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out.
Why am I muted? What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my final thoughts for UFC Jacksonville. We have a 13-fight card, very good card. We did lose the Tatsura Tire fight, which sucks. Was really looking forward to that one, but 13 fights regardless. And yeah, really, really good fights. There's not one fight that I'm not looking forward to, I'd say. Really good fights all around from top to bottom. Good fight night card for sure. Decent amount of bets as well. I think I have 12 bets, 10 units on the line. I think it's a very violent card on paper, so I'm hoping the violence does deliver. But yeah, other than that, I'm going to be going live tonight at 10 o'clock Eastern time with my guy Blood Money. We're doing Best Bet tonight. It's just a two-man show. I will be participating in it, and then Blood Money, and then nothing tomorrow. We got an early card tomorrow. I believe the card starts at like 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. So early card, late finish there. So that should be good. And then going to be back Sunday getting out some early content for next week as well. So finally going to start getting ahead. Been a little bit behind this week. Was able to catch up with everything. It's been kind of a busy last couple of days though. Before we get started, if you guys can, of course, leave a like. It does help. Subscribe to the channel. That helps as well. And I do want to check out the chat, see what's going on with you guys. Oh, I did Narcos Lambo Plays podcast earlier at 4. So guys, go check that out if you have not already. It was a fun show. Me, Narco, and Rebecci as well. All right. Got Bill in the chat. What is up, Bill? Saying rocking the panhandle this week. Let's go. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. We got something. Love the name there. Let's go. I agree. Let's go. And then we got Tom in the chat saying, what's up, Brady? I see lots of violence on this card. Let's go. Yeah, lots of violence on paper. I'm hoping it comes through. Lots of like wide fight doesn't go to decision lines. We have the Poria fight doesn't go, is like minus 600 on some books. The Brundage fight's like minus 600 to not go. Lots of under 1.5s that are juiced to the under. It should be a very, very fun card for sure. We got Donald in the chat. What is up, Donald? Saying ready to roll this week. Yeah, me as well. Really looking forward to this card. Should be a good one. And we got Samuel in the chat saying, what up, Brady? Time to make some cash. That is always the goal. Always the goal. And then we got Ollie1 in the chat. Morning violence. Yes, we're going to kick the night off with some more like morning violence for sure. Because the first fight of the night is Cody Brundage, SD Dumas. So that's going to be a very violent one. But I say we get into it. And we're going to go through these fights, talk some betting, talk some DraftKings, talk some weigh-ins. We did have 3 fighters miss weight. But Jamal Emmers ended up coming back, shaving off his head and making weight. So 2 fighters missed weight, and the Kletzen Rodriguez fight is off because of that. So the only person that did miss weight officially in his fighting is going to be Loik Rajabov. We'll talk about him in a little bit there. But we're going to kick off the card with an absolute banger. Not sure why this fight's going to be so early on here. They took it from the main card and put it on the very first prelim here. So I'm hoping and everybody in Jacksonville gets there nice and early because you're not going to want to miss this matchup. When I went to UFC Charlotte, I missed the first 2 fights. I didn't plan on missing the first 2 fights. It just the parking was atrocious, and I ended up missing the Brian Battle 10-second knockout, which sucked. So I can see something like that happening. I think we're going to get a quick finish in this one. Cody Brundage is a pretty big favorite here, and at minus 115. Earlier in the week, I was actually really tempted in Cody Brundage, but he got all the way to like minus 200 to minus 225 at one point. I'm like, man, what's going on? I cannot even think about laying this price tag on Cody Brundage. If anything, it'd be a play on the dog Dumas, but I really don't even want to do that, to be honest. My pick for this fight is going to be Cody Brundage. I think Cody Brundage goes out there and finishes SD Dumas. I think it could be by knockout, and I think it could be by submission. Cody Brundage throws heat. Like, he knocked down Rodolfo Vieira, hurt him multiple times in that first round, and then he knocked out Tresean Gore, which I definitely wasn't expecting. So, yeah, Brundage's striking is coming along. He throws with a lot of power. And if he's able to get this fight down to the mat, he could absolutely sub Dumas as well. So I like Brundage to finish Dumas, and I think it probably comes in the first round. But I can't lay this price tag on him because, I think Dumas as well, he has a lot of power. He can land a big shot. We've seen Brundage hurt. And when Brundage is on bottom, it's not looked great. Like, if Dumas can get on top of Brundage, it's going to look bad. So I would not recommend laying this price on Cody Brundage. If you got in early at minus 115, you did your job. I think he was even like plus 100 at one point, Cody Brundage. At this point, I would not even think about betting Cody Brundage at this point, at this line, but I am going to pick him to win. So I do have the under 2.5 rounds in a parlay. It's my only parlay of the card. I think violence is the answer here. Even like the under 1.5, it's extremely juiced. It's like minus 150 to anywhere from minus 150 to minus 180. And rightfully so. Just the way with Cody Brundage, the way he's been fighting lately, it's been an absolute car crash from the jump, and I see nothing different here. I think they're going to go after it early, and I think somebody's probably getting served here in the first round. So violence for me, parlaying up the under 2.5. And then in terms of DraftKings, phenomenal fight to target. Cody Brundage, not in love with the price tag, but if he wins, expect probably a first-round finish. Expect takedowns, maybe a little bit control time, knockout or sub. So, yeah, Brundage wins, he's going to score well. But Dumas at this price tag, it does have me intrigued. Like, I think this fight can really, I don't want to say it can go either way. I think Brundage should be the favorite, but 8,700 is a lot. Like, I feel like this should be like an 8,400, 7,800 type matchup. So I think Dumas at 7,500 is a guy that has a ton of finish upside in his own right. We've seen Brundage knocked out. So yeah, don't mind some Dumas, but going to be playing both sides here in this matchup. Should be a very, 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 very fun fight to kick off the card. Cannot wait for this one. Same was saying lots of holes in Dumas's game. Yeah, I think there's holes in both guys' games, to be honest. Like, Brundage, I think he's a little rough off his back. The fight IQ of Brundage can be bad at times. Like, he jumped guillotine against Rodolfo Vieira. The durability of Brundage scares me a little bit. Cardio, question mark. And then, yeah, tons more in Dumas's game. Like, the takedown defense of Dumas looked bad. He was getting rocked on the feet left and right against Frem. Not really sold on Dumas. So I'm going to pick Cody Brundage, but I would just not lay this price tag on him. I had to sprinkle on Dumas. I thought about it, dude. Like, Dumas got to like plus 185, and I'm like, what is going on? What is going on? Cody Brundage minus 225 just made no sense whatsoever. Obviously, the line started coming back in on Dumas, and it makes sense because Cody Brundage should not be minus 225 here. I think either guy is live to finish the other guy in this one. Got Jesse in the chat as well. What is up? What is up? All right. Let's move on to the next fight. We have Jamal Emmers going against Jack Jenkins. Jamal Emmers, he did miss weight. And you just missed the Brundage Dumas breakdown, expecting some violence. I think somebody gets served there. What is up, Marvin? How you doing? All right. So, yeah, Emmers did miss weight, but he ended up continuing to cut weight. He cut off his hair, came in with a new look, and did end up making weight. So Jamal Emmers did make weight. And, yeah, this is another line, kind of like the Brundage fight, where I like Emmers to win. I do. I think Emmers should win this fight. But laying minus 225, 200 on Jamal Emmers is terrifying for a multitude of reasons. Like, I bet Jamal Emmers against the undefeated fraud in his last fight as an underdog. He was an underdog to an undefeated fraud. And now all of a sudden he's a pretty big favorite, like minus 200 to minus 225 against Jack Jenkins, who's not a fraud whatsoever. So I think Emmers should be the better striker here. I think Emmers should be the much better wrestler here. I think he can get takedowns. I think he's going to dictate where this fight takes place. But I also think that this fight could play out very, very closely. And I don't want to completely count out Jack Jenkins really at all. I think Jack Jenkins is a very live dog this week, especially considering Jamal Emmers just does not make the best decisions when he's in the cage. The fight IQ of Jamal Emmers has been very, very questionable in the past, and it's cost him wins. So I'm not laying this price tag on Jamal Emmers. If anything, it's a dog or pass situation. And I think Jack Jenkins is live. But what I did is, since I do think Emmers does win, but I think it's close, I took a shot on that plus 3.5, the point spread, the points handicap on Jack Jenkins. It's minus 130 on DraftKings. I have one unit on it. And basically with this point spread, for example, if Jamal Emmers wins the fight, say 29-28 on all three judges' scorecards, that point spread will cash. All Jack Jenkins has to do is win at least one round on all three of the judges' scorecards. If Jack Jenkins gets to finish, that hits. And then obviously if Jamal Emmers wins 30-27 on all three judges' scorecards, something like that, it's going to lose. And then if Jamal Emmers finishes, Jack Jenkins is not going to hit. But I think it's a close fight. I think it is probably like a 29-28 type situation in favor of Jamal Emmers. And I like that plus 3.5 point spread bet. I should have done it last week with Nicholas Dalby. I think it was the same price, like minus 130. Nicholas Dalby plus 3.5. That would have cashed very, very easy. So that's how I'm attacking this fight. Dog or pass, I would not recommend laying minus 200 to minus 225 on Jamal Emmers. It's terrifying. Who has Jack Jenkins beaten? Not really anybody notable. I mean, he beat Don Shamus, who's very shameless, but not anybody that great. But yeah, like I said, I'm picking Emmers. I just hate the line. Well, I would not recommend laying. There's a couple fighters in this card where you don't want to lay this price tag. These lines are wild. You do not want to lay minus 225 on somebody with bad fight IQ like Emmers. You do not want to lay minus 200 on somebody like Cody Brundage. You don't want to lay minus 200 on somebody like Brennan Allen. Just some really wide lines this week. But I think Jamal Emmers does get it done. But give me the plus 3.5 there, point spread. All right, let's move on to probably my favorite fight on the card, and it's buried on the prelims. We got Trevor Peek going against Chepe Mariscal. We have Trevor Peek. I do want to see where this line's been. This line's been going crazy. Yeah, so it looks like Trevor Peek is now minus 120. It looked like the line was going to potentially flip at one point, and then it looks like some money as of late has came in on Trevor Peek here. But yeah, Trevor Peek was a pretty big favorite earlier in the week, and then money poured in on Mariscal, which makes sense. But I am on the Trevor Peek side myself. This is going to close out my violence parlay, my only parlay of the week. I have the under 2.5 rounds in the Trevor Peek Mariscal fight, parlayed with the Brundage Dumas under 2.5 rounds, 2.5 units on it. It came out to minus 142. Beat some line movement on that Trevor Peek under there. It looks like that has moved a little bit, but still, I think it's a great parlay. These two unders, I think they're both going to be car crash type fights. Especially this Trevor Peek fight. I mean, this guy has one speed and it's just 120%. I think he's going to try to take off Mariscal's head, and I think he's going to be successful doing so. I like Trevor Peek to knock out Mariscal early, but Trevor Peek leaves a lot of openings. He's not the most technical striker at all, really, but he does hit very hard. He's tough, and he's going to bite down, and he's going to throw. This guy has that dog at him. Should be an absolute war for as long as it lasts. But Mariscal's been knocked out 3 times. I think it becomes 4 here. Mariscal coming in on short notice, up a weight class, going to be undersized. I like Peek to finish this fight pretty early. In terms of DraftKings, love me some Peek 8,200. I think this guy honestly has one of the highest ceilings, if not the highest ceiling on the entire slate. Like 8,200, he throws so much volume. He has that first round finish upside. If Trevor Peek wins, I think he puts up a phenomenal score at 8,200. But you also have to play some Mariscal. This is a fight that's like minus 600. Fight doesn't go to decision. It's a fight that's heavily expected to finish inside the distance. If Mariscal is able to pull off the upset, he has a ton of upside his own right. 8,000. Like if Mariscal pulls off this upset, first of all, he's going to be a lot lower owned than Peek for obvious reasons. And then second of all, he's going to obviously going to put up a big score with like a first or second round finish. So must fight target, in my opinion, at these price tags. I'd be shocked if this fight didn't score well from a DraftKings perspective. So give me Trevor Peek for the win, and I think he wins by first round knockout. Daryl Sam versus Scrubs. Yeah, Jenkins has beat some Scrubs. Cannot deny that. Jenkins possible cash play. I don't hate it. There's some other guys I like a little bit more than Jenkins, but I don't think he's the worst cash play in the world. I think it's a close fight. I think it goes the distance. Jenkins is the guy who broke multiple legs with calf. Yeah, that's him. Very hard leg kicks. Like I remember watching tape on him for the first time, Jenkins, and there were a couple fights where he just TKO'd guys with leg kicks. Very hard leg kicks. So that might be a factor in the Emmers fight for sure. All right. We'll keep moving on. We got Zhalgas Zhumagulov going against Joshua Van, and we got Zhalgas like minus 200. Joshua Van around like minus or plus 170. And I do have a couple bets here that stick out. So obviously, I think the most likely scenario is a Zalgas decision here. I think that's the most likely scenario. But there are some spots that stick out. Like this fight doesn't go is very interesting to me at plus 138. Went small on it, half a unit, plus 130 on this fight doesn't go. The reason being is, first of all, Joshua Van is a guy that's 21 years old. He's coming in here, making his UFC debut. He's taken a massive leap up in competition. This is a guy in Van who has never been the distance, and he's never even seen the third round in his entire career. So I like that from a violence perspective. On top of that, Joshua Van hits very, very hard. He's down to stand and bang, right? On top of that, Zalgas is a guy that's fought really, really good competition inside and outside of the UFC, outside of Jerome Rivera. But he's fought really good guys throughout his career. This is a pretty big step down in competition for Zalgas Zhumagulov. And the way I see this fight playing out is Joshua Van, you watch the tape on this guy, he can be taken down really easily, like no resistance whatsoever. His only loss comes by submission. So I think on the feet, both guys do really throw with bad intentions, but I think Zalgas is going to wrestle here. I think Zalgas is going to try to take this guy down and potentially submit him even. Zalgas, he's not much of a finisher, but his one finish in the UFC was by submission. So I know he has it in him. And for that reason, his submission prop at plus 1,400 just really, really caught my eye there. So I put a quarter unit on the Zalgas submission prop plus 1,400. I think the path's going to be to wrestle. I don't see why it wouldn't be. And he wrestles anyway. So we'll see if we can get him out of there by sub. Yeah, plus 1,400 for that quarter unit. And then also a half unit on that fight. Doesn't go to decision. Plus 138. I think if Van wins, it's obviously probably knockout. But I think if Zalgas wins, it could be knockout, submission, decision. But yeah, violence at plus money in here, I think is really interesting. And it's plus money, so I don't mind it at all. So give me Zalgas to get the job done. I'll say submission. From a DraftKings perspective, I don't really like Zalgas, though. I think he scores decent. I think he can get takedowns. I guess he's going to be super low owned. So for that reason, maybe he's a little bit intriguing. But, I mean, there's just so many better options in Zalgas. You got Brennan Allen up there. You have, guys like Trevor Peek, who's like 800 cheaper. You have Cody Brundage, who's cheaper. You have Gabriel Santos, you got Tafa, you got Tapia up there. So it's just really hard to get this Zalgas this week. Maybe on I don't know. I think he scores decent. It's just I don't know if I can picture Zalgas being on the optimal lineup this week. So I'm not going to play much Zalgas on DraftKings. And Van is kind of intriguing at 7,200. He has a 100% finish rate. But yeah, not my favorite fight for DraftKings. But I do like some violence here. I think Zalgas gets it done. All right. What's up, Evan? How you doing? We got Gerald in the chat as well. What is up, guys? All right, let's keep moving on. We have the simp fight of the week. We got Tabitha Richie going against Jillian Robertson. We got Tabitha Richie, 28 years old, 5'1", with a 62-inch reach. Jillian Robertson, same thing, but a little bit bigger, 5'5", and we saw it at the weigh-ins. Jillian Robertson's much, much bigger, and that scares me a little bit. Although it shouldn't really scare me at all because I'm not betting this fight. I'm not even thinking about betting on this fight, but I do like Richie to get this done. But yeah, I would be lying if I said the size does not concern me in this one. I don't know. I just feel like you watch the tape on Jillian and she's just getting taken down with like no resistance. Like she folds like a lawn chair anytime somebody tries to take her down. So yes, she's going to be bigger, but I don't see why Richie can't take her down because Jillian literally accepts the takedown. She wants to be on the ground. She wants to be on her back. And you got to think that Tabitha Richie is defensively sound enough on the mat to survive submission attempts on bottom. I guess Robertson could potentially take down Richie. But I don't know. This is a fight I just want nothing to do with. I think whoever wins this fight is going to look like a really big favorite here. A lot of people are very confident in the Richie side. A lot of people are very confident in the Robertson side. One side of this is going to look really silly, I think. I think whoever wins this fight is just going to look like a massive favorite. I think it's all going to come down to who's able to get their wrestling going. Is it going to be Richie? Is it going to be Robertson? Because I don't really see this fight taking place on the feet. If it did, it's Richie all day, but it's not. It's going to be a fight that takes place on the mat, I think. So I'm going to take Richie, but not a ton of confidence. No bet on this fight. In terms of DraftKings, I think it's a solid fight that scores decently. It's just on this slate, there are so many fights that are going to finish. There are so many fights that are going to score very, very highly that if this fight goes to decision, how is this fight going to compete with like the Trevor Peek fight? How is this fight going to compete with like the Justin Tafa fight that's going to finish in the first round? How's this fight going to compete with some of these other fights, right? So I think it's a fight that scores well, but it's not a fight that I'm really running to go out there and play. So give me a Tabitha Richie to get it done, but just no confidence in this one. Yep, Canada's been hot lately. Canada's been very, very hot lately. They were undefeated in Canada, and then I think another Canadian won last week. Who was it? I forget who. And then we have Jillian here, so we'll see if she can keep it going there. I was saying the baby shark. Yeah, I'm picking her, but I don't want to put any money behind it. To be honest, if I was to bet this fight, it probably would be the dog money on Robertson, just because she's a dog. I don't want to lay any chalk on this fight here. So I'm gonna be passing on it, but I'll pick Richie to win this fight by decision. But just nothing sticking out from a betting perspective whatsoever. Like even Richie by decision, which is not something like I'm in love with. It's only like plus 120, and her money line's like minus 120. So that's pretty terrible there. All right. Fight goes to split. Yeah, there's a fight goes to the split decision I do like on this card. This is not really one of them. I mean, I could see it, I suppose. Maybe it is a close fight. I just think the winner is going to win pretty convincingly, but there is a split decision prop I do like on this card later down. All right, let's keep moving on. We got Matthias Rebecci going against Loik Rashadov. And yeah, Rashadov did miss weight. He didn't look great. This is another close fight, I think. Rashadov is a guy that, honestly, he's fought really good competition outside the UFC. He came in and made his debut against Esteban Ribovics, who will be fighting at UFC 290 in a couple weeks, and looked really good. This guy went out there, attempted like 20 takedowns, got like 10, 11, 12. I mean, this guy went out there, put on a very good performance. I think Loik Rashadov is very, very good. Rebecci, I think he's good. I think he's skilled. He has a little bit more hype on him, I'd say. Contender Series guy, went out there, got an early finish. I think his stock dropped a little bit after the Nick Fiore fight, but I still think he's a very good fighter. I just want to see him tested a little bit more against some better competition, and this is going to be a very good test here. I think it's a very well-matched fight. I'm going to pick Rashadov. I was actually tempted to potentially bet Rashadov, but after the weigh-ins, I can't do it. Looks like Rashadov's like plus 130 on some books. I think it's a close fight. I honestly think it's going to decision. Rashadov, what he is super tough. This guy has fought, like I said, really good competition, 22 fights. He's never been finished. So I think he's tough enough to survive here. And I think this goes the distance. I think it's close. I think it's greasy. We got terrible judges, more than likely in Jacksonville. I mean, terrible everywhere, but in Jacksonville, they're probably very bad. Give me the dog money, if anything. But yeah, the weigh-ins is kind of swayed me away from even thinking about betting Loik Rashadov there. This is a tough one to call. Cardio questions on both sides. I'm betting the fight ends in round 3. Funny you say that. Because on the Lambo Plays show with Narco today, I actually went with the same thing. The fight ends in round 3, plus 800. Don't know if I'm gonna make it like an official bet or nothing, but yeah, plus 800. It's interesting due to the fact that both guys have showed cardio issues. Due to the fact that Rashadov slows down in every fight. And then he had a tough weight cut by the looks of it, right? So yeah, fight ended around 3, plus 800 could be a very interesting sprinkle. But yeah, no bet on this fight for me. From a DraftKings perspective, I like Rashadov. I like the savings here. I like the wrestling upside that he brings. I mean, the guy went out there and scored like 120 something in his debut. But like I said, the weight miss does worry me a little bit in terms of that. But I still think is a very good DFS play. Honestly, whoever wins this fight is probably going to score very well. Expect a ton of takedowns. Expect a very high-paced fight at these salaries as well. So really like this fight from a DraftKings perspective. I'm gonna stick with Rashadov here, but he did not look the best on the skills for sure. All right, we're gonna keep moving on. I think we're gonna kick off the main card, or this might be the feature prelim. But regardless, thank you all for hanging out on a Friday. I know a lot's going on. A lot of people live right now. And then we also got PFL going right now. So do appreciate everybody that's hanging out with me on a Friday. And then I want to remind you guys that me and Blood Money will be doing the best bet live stream tonight at 10, which might not be the best idea considering that is going against PFL. But I mean, there's no other time to do it unless we wake up like super early tomorrow. So the early card's kind of forcing me to crunch everything in on Friday here, but it is what it is. All right. We'll move on to the next fight. We got Randy Brown going against Wellington Turman. And so Wellington Turman we had 3 weight misses, right? And then Jamal Emmers came back and made weight, but 3. originally. And then I expected Turman to be the one to potentially miss weight, but nah, he came down to 170 for the first time in a while, and he looked good doing so. And that's kind of scary. I like Brown here. I like Brown to win this fight inside the distance as well. Wellington Turman, I've always questioned you got to question his durability. I mean, getting knocked out cold by Andrew Sanchez, you're always going to get your durability question. I question the cardio as well of Wellington Turman. And then cutting down to 170, I don't think it's going to help either of those things. But it looked like he had a good cut. He looked good at 170, and if he comes in there ready to go, I mean, I think he's probably live for the upset. I mean, Randy Brown's a guy just like a Brennan Allen, just like a Cody Brundage, just like a Jamal Emmers. You do not want to lay minus 220, nothing like that on Randy Brown. I bet Randy Brown against Francisco Trinaldo, like 60-year-old Trinaldo, right? And I laid like minus 250, and I was terrified. Just a terrible performance for Brown. That was a close fight. I mean, he lost the third round convincingly. He won the first round. The second round was kind of up in the air. I scored it for him, but my goodness, I mean, he went out there and laying minus 250 on Randy Brown was not one of my proudest moments ever, and it's not happening here. But yeah, I think on the feet it's night and day. It's not even close. Randy Brown's the better striker. He's much bigger, much longer than Wellington Turman. It's not even close. Randy Brown's a much better striker. I think he can knock out Wellington Turman. The question I have is what happens if this fight gets to the mat? What happens if Wellington Turman gets on top of Randy Brown? And that's where it does get concerning. So I do have a bet here. I took a half unit shot on Randy Brown to win by knockout, plus 195. I like it a lot better than the money line there. Even like the inside the distance at plus money, I like that. But there is a prop that sticks out on the Turman side. I don't know if I want to go out there and bet both, but my goodness, Turman by submissions plus 600, and that line just doesn't make a ton of sense. I feel like that's literally his win condition. I don't see Turman obviously knocking out Brown, and I don't really see Turman winning a decision. So if you like Turman, the Turman sub plus 600, I think is the way to go. Like Brown's been sub twice in his career. So yeah, I like the Brown KO side personally, plus 195, half a unit, but Turman submission is something that definitely does stick out a tad. So we'll see what happens. I don't think I'm going to play it, but the Turman sub at plus 600 does stick out as a play with some value for sure. I mean, I think that's how he wins there. Turman looked like dog ass at weigh-ins. I thought he looked good. Maybe I was just expecting him to look very, very bad. So maybe my expectations were low, but he looked good to me. He looked fine. We got the King. The King is back. Let's go. Let's get this money. What is up? This fight probably stinks for DK. Yeah, I'm not touching it. Brown's just too expensive for my liking, 9,300. And then Turman, if anything, it's probably some Turman at this price tag, but even then I'm not too excited about. Yeah, I'm not touching Brown either. Your live stream better than the PFL. Maybe these prelims potentially, but the main card does look pretty good tonight for PFL. Randy can't get up against anyone with these long limbs. Just got to hope he KOs them quick at range. Yeah, 100%. 100%. Agreed. I'm hoping he does KO him as well. And yeah, there's a couple ones where it's like you should not be parlaying up Randy Brown this week, guys like that. But I'll say he gets the knockout there. All right. Let's see. We'll move on to the next fight. We got Neil Magny versus Philip Rowe. We got Neil Magny, very popular play this week. A lot of money coming on Neil Magny throughout the week. And yeah, I get it. I mean, Neil Magny's just taken an astronomical step down in competition fighting Phil Rowe here. I mean, you take a look at the last couple losses for Neil Magny, you know, guys like Gilbert Burns, guys like Shavkat, guys like who would absolutely destroy Phil Rowe in the first 30 seconds of the fight. So yeah, Magny's taken a big giant step down, and Phil Rowe's taken a big giant step up, going from guys like Orion Kosei, Jason Witt, guys like that, right? So I get why people like Magny. I like him too. I like him in this spot. I think he wins. It's just the durability, the age of Magny is what kind of concerns me in terms of laying this price tag on him. You know, Magny's been finished 8 times, 2 by knockout, 6 by sub, and Phil Rowe hits very hard. I don't have much on this fight, but there is a couple prop sprinkles that I liked. This kind of reminds me of like the Zalgas fight. Like these submission props are just wild to me. Neil Magny submission in general is like plus 1,200. And so I sprinkled the 2-3 submission props, very, very small. I have 0.15 units on Neil Magny sub 2 plus 3,800, and then 0.10 units on the Magny sub 3 plus 4,400. And yeah, I think the game plan here for Magny would be to get this fight down to the mat. I heard an interview with Magny, and he was talking about how this is a great fight to showcase his striking. And I call BS on that. I mean, why would you strike with Phil Rowe? That's giving Phil Rowe literally his path to victory. But no, Magny, if he's smart, he should go out there and take Phil Rowe down. We saw Orion Kose take him down, control him. Phil Rowe had no answer. We saw Jason Witt take him down, control him. Phil Rowe had no answer. Luckily for Phil Rowe, Jason Witt and Orion Kose, first of all, they're not great. Second of all, they gassed out, and Phil Rowe gets the knockout. Neil Magny is not going to gas out. Neil Magny can do that for 3 rounds. And if Neil Magny gets his fight down to the mat consistently, I do think at some point he's going to be live for a submission in this fight. It's probably Magny by Magny by decision is obviously the most likely scenario here, but we're talking plus 4,400, plus 3,800 props, just a small sprinkle to win a decent amount. So yeah, Magny probably does win by decision, but I think there's going to be some opportunities late. We've seen Phil Rowe struggle on the ground. Yes, he's a black belt in BJJ, but I don't think his cardio is that great. He has to cut a lot of weight to get down to this weight class. Give me Magny here to get the job done regardless, though. Like I said, probably by decision, but those prop sprinkles are just wild numbers. From a DK perspective, it's actually the other side I'm interested in, though, on DK. 7,700 for Philip Rowe, a guy with a 100% finish rate, a guy with a ton of power in his hands, going against Magny, who's been finished a ton. On DraftKings, it's Phil Rowe I have interest in due to this price tag. So for DraftKings, I'm liking Phil Rowe for sure. It's $800 savings off of Neil Magny. Not playing a ton of Magny on DK this week. I think Phil Rowe's the upside play from a DK perspective. This feels like Lawrence versus Argueta last week. Hopefully it doesn't have the same outcome there. Seems to be a very close fight, but someone ends up dominating past City. It could look like that. Like Magny could go out there and look like a massive favorite. Just take down Phil Rowe consistently and finish him, right? And then on the flip side, Phil Rowe could look like a massive favorite by going out there and starching Magny, knocking Magny out for like the 9th time. So yeah, I agree. This could very well look like a fight that doesn't end up being close at all. But yeah, on paper, it is a pretty close fight, I'd say. Okay, we'll keep moving on to this. I think the main card started with Magny Rowe, but I'm not sure. But Brennan Allen, Bruno Silva, I know for sure is the main card. Brennan Allen, been talking about it like he's a big favorite. Should Allen win this fight? I mean, yeah, he should. He has all the tools to win this fight. He has the skill set to win this fight. He has the skill set to go out there and dominate this fight and make it look super easy. He really does. On the feet, Brennan Allen probably wins minutes on the feet just due to the fact that he's going to be throwing more volume, but you do not want to strike with Bruno Silva. Bruno Silva is one of the hardest hitters in the division. And the thing with Brennan Allen is he's an incredible grappler, black belt on BJJ. Once he gets on top, he's very, very dangerous. He has legit ground and pound, great submission game. He's not going to take you down and just lay on you and blanket you. He's going to look for the finish, right? Bruno Silva's been finished by submission like 6 or 7 times. He's a black belt in his own right, but I don't know. I mean, he's been submitted so many times and he has 0 submissions on his record there. So I don't know where he got that black belt, but regardless, Allen is the much better grappler, and it's night and day. Night and day, it's not even close. Like if Brendan Allen fights smart, takes his fight down to the mat, Allen is going to run through Bruno Silva easily. The problem with Brendan Allen is you can never trust him to do that. He went out there and struck with Sean Strickland. I don't think he even attempted one takedown against Sean Strickland, and he got knocked out. Against Chris Curtis, waited way too long to try to get takedowns. Got knocked out. Even against Punahele Soriano, he won that fight. That's great, but why not try to take him down? He didn't at all. So if he goes out there and strikes with Bruno Silva, I mean, he's probably getting knocked out. You do not want to strike with Bruno Silva, especially, I mean, you could see it here. Brendan Allen's striking defense is 46%. You do not want to have 46% striking defense against someone like Bruno Silva. So, yeah, if Allen fights smart and grapples, I think he looks like a massive favorite, but trusting Brendan Allen at this price tag is not really something I want to do really at all. I think the best bet here is the under 2.5 rounds. I have 1.5 units on it, minus 180. I think both guys can knock each other out. I think Bruno Silva can absolutely knock out Brennan Allen. And then if Brennan Allen gets on top of Bruno Silva, I think he can pound him out, or I think he can sub him. Both guys are very, very dangerous. Allen with the subs, Silva with the power, and both guys can absolutely be finished. Allen's been knocked out several times. Silva's been finished a million times by submission. So I think violence is the way I'm playing this. I want to play Brennan Allen. I want to play Brennan Allen props. I want to play Brennan Allen by sub, all this, but I don't know. It's really hard to trust Brennan Allen, like really, really hard. But he's a beast, man. He is so good. It's just that fight IQ is the one thing that I don't like with Brennan Allen. But he's so skilled, and he's very young as well. 27 years old, still a long way to go. Grappling, phenomenal. The striking's coming along very nicely. Just submitted Andre Muniz, who is one of the best grapplers in the division. Submitted Christoph Jocko in the first round, who's a black belt himself. Yeah, Brennan Allen's the real deal. It's just the fight IQ is the one thing that I'm not a massive fan of. But we'll see. We'll see what his game plan is. We'll see if he comes out there and wants to test his striking. If he does, it's probably a rough night. Yeah, DraftKings, great fight to target. 9,100 for Brennan Allen. If he grapples, I mean, I think he can score well over 100. Bruno Silva, 7,100. Like, that's kind of ridiculous. So for Bruno Silva, a guy with that much power, that's a cheap price tag. I think Bruno Silva is a very live dog, just because if Allen does not grapple, he's going to get knocked out. So yeah, I think it's a great fight to target both sides. I'm going to have a little bit more Allen, but Bruno Silva at this price tag is very intriguing for sure. I mean, $2,000 savings there for a guy with like 20 knockouts on his record. It's wild. So yeah, give me Allen to get the sub, but he's one of those guys. You know, there's those guys in the UFC where if you bet on these guys, especially laying chalk, you want to punch a hole through your wall. You want to take a baseball bat and smash your TV. Betting on guys like this. I remember betting Corey McKenna against Elise Reed, and anybody would know you have to take down Elise Reed. You know, Elise Reed, a white belt in BJJ. Elise Reed, no takedown defense. Elise Reed really struggles on the mat. Elise Reed's a solid striker with power. What does Corey McKenna do? She goes out there and strikes with Elise Reed, and then decides to wrestle with like 10 seconds left. So, I mean, some of these fighters fight IQ, man, and Brennan Allen's been one of them in the past. So I try to avoid that as much as possible. And this is one that a couple fighters on this card, like I'm trying my best to avoid them as best as possible there. Why is everyone on Allen confidently rather than jumping on the Silva? Yeah, Silva KO1. I mean, I think that's his path to victory. And to be honest, it's a very, very live outcome, because you got to imagine Allen is probably going to strike a little bit. Bruno Silva, first round knockout is plus 800. Yeah, I mean, I think that's honestly probably how he wins there. Fade, bad fight IQ parlay, Dumas money line, Jenkins money line, Allen money line. There you go. Fade that bad fight IQ. We got Forrest in the chat. What is up, Forrest? Love the under on this fight. Thanks for another dope stream. Thank you for hanging out, Forrest. And yeah, I'm with you on that under. Definitely with you on that under. I think there's a lot of unders that stick out this week, this being one of them, and this next fight being one of them. I bet the Silva finish only in his last fight against Brad Tavares, but made a lot more sense there. Allen should finish this fight. I'd say I wouldn't touch that. I mean, if you absolutely have to bet Bruno Silva, if you have to bet him, then sure, because Bruno Silva is not winning a decision here. But I don't think that hits personally. All right, so let's move on to the next fight we have. This is my pick for fight of the night. Just an absolute banger. Gabriel Santos going against David Onama. Really, really looking forward to this fight here. We got Gabriel Santos as a pretty big favorite, which is interesting. I think people are very high on Gabriel Santos after his loss against Rowe Murphy in a fight where, as we all know, he should have probably won that fight. But yeah, he lost that fight against Rowe Murphy. His stock skyrocketed. David Onama lost his fight against Nate Landwehr. His stock plummeted. So now we're getting Gabriel Santos as a really big favorite, minus 225. David Onama around plus 180, plus 190, which I do disagree with the line. I think David Onama, I think people are being a little bit too hard on him. And I think people are overrating Santos a little bit, but in terms of how I see this fight playing out, I think Santos is a guy I'm very high on first and foremost. This is a guy that on the feet, very exciting, has a ton of power. He's very dangerous on the feet. And then it's on the mat where he has just incredible grappling as well. Just dangerous wherever the fight goes. The cardio is solid. The cardio is going to be a factor in this matchup as well. I think David Onama is going to be live early, but as this fight goes on, it should just be Santos all day, especially mixing in the takedowns. Like David Onama's takedown defense is not great at all. On paper, it's 45%. That's going to be a big problem here against Gabriel Santos. A big problem. I mean, he was getting taken down by Mason Jones. He was getting taken down by Nate Landwehr. Guys like that, guys that aren't really going to make him pay. I mean, if Gabriel Santos gets on top of Onama and Onama's tired, he's not going to let him off the hook like Nate Landwehr. He's going to finish him. Santos is an absolute killer, 100% finish rate in all of his wins. I think Santos breaks Onama and finishes him in the second or third round. But with that said, Onama, if he wins, I think it's probably a first-round knockout. I was kind of looking at the Santos 2-3 props, which are plus 600 and like plus 1100. And then I was also potentially looking at the Onama round 1 knockout prop, which is plus 1100. I think those are likely outcomes there. But what I ended up doing was just playing the fight doesn't go the distance, 1.5 units minus 145. The lines moved a tad. I still like it around minus 160 there. So give me violence here again. I think these guys are going to go to war. Both these guys are super dangerous. David Onama has a ton of power. Gabriel Santos has a ton of power. And then Gabriel Santos also has that very, very good submission game as well. So yeah, I think it's Onama early, Santos late. Give me Santos to get it done down the stretch. In terms of the DraftKings, love this fight for DraftKings as well. Santos, a lot of takedown upside, finish upside. It's just going to be a high-paced fight. David Onama, if he wins at 7K, first of all, I don't think a ton of people are going to have him. And secondly, I think it's a fight that he could win in the first round. So great fight to target on DraftKings. Another very violent fight, but I like Santos to get this one done here. Brisand, thanks for pointing that KO one out for Silva. Simone, I'm definitely sprinkling. That's a crazy. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple like KO ones that are just have wild prices this week. Silva KO one plus 800. David Onama KO one plus 1100. Even like Cody Brundage KO one is like plus 900. Some very interesting KO ones this week. I mean, Justin Tafa KO one probably hits. Very interesting. What's another KO one? Trevor Pete KO one probably hits plus 240. I think we're gonna get a lot of first round knockouts this card. It's gonna be a great card. I cannot wait for this one. Wish it was a little bit later in the day, but hey, I can't complain. I'm gonna wake up early and watch some fights. All right. Let's see. All right. Before we move on. By the way, so starting next week, I'm going to start getting out some prize picks content. You guys asked, well, maybe you did. A couple guys did ask. I'm going to start doing a prize picks video that's going to start dropping on, I'm going to say probably Thursday, maybe even earlier because prize picks seems to get their stuff out a lot earlier. So if you guys have not checked out prize picks, go check it out. Seems like the next big thing really. And use that promo code at DFSBTN for a 100% deposit bonus. And like I said, I'm going to start doing some prize picks content by next week. I was going to do it this week, but I was just so crammed with everything, and I didn't want to post like 50 videos on Friday. Yeah, 100%. Very, very good card. Very good card. For a fight night especially. Like, this card's good. This is probably one of my favorite fight nights of the year. So what else we got in here? Got to do the triple KO1 parlay, Pete KO1, Silva KO1, Tafa round 1 KO. And funny you say that because I did the on the Narcos podcast Lambo plays. We do a Lambo parlay, and my Lambo parlay was Peak round 1 KO, Tafa round 1 KO, and then I had Brundage round 1 KO. But you could like put a Silva KO1 in there. You could put a Onama KO1 in there. Lots of first round knockouts, I think, this card. All right, let's keep moving on. We got Justin Tafa going against Austin Lane. We have Justin Tafa, pretty big favorite. Yeah, so I was actually tempted to place a wager on one Justin Tafa, and then I got to thinking, And I got to thinking, and like, why would I do that? I mean, this is a low level heavyweight fight. And at the end of the day, Justin Tafa lost to Jared Vandera. Enough said. He should absolutely spark Austin Lane, though, to be honest. Like, I don't think Austin Lane really is UFC caliber. Like, he's coming in here 35 years old. He's been knocked out in all of his losses. I think the striking, like, yes, Austin Lane's going to be bigger, reach advantage, all that, but Justin Tafa is the better striker by a mile. By a mile. The one reason I'm not betting Tafa, well, there's 3 reasons. Low-level heavyweight fight. He lost to Jared Vandera. And I don't know. I just have a bad feeling that if Austin Lane gets on top of Justin Tafa, it's going to be a wrap. Austin Lane, the one thing that impressed me, and there wasn't many. The one thing that impressed me with Austin Lane was when he gets on top, his ground and pound is very good. And if it turns out that he does get on top of Tafa, he could absolutely pound him out. So that terrifies me, especially when we're talking about laying -175 on Tafa. If anything, I'm probably playing like the knockout prop, first round knockout prop, but it's only like +140. Like they're all over it. So I'm gonna say Tafa starches him in the first round. I hate the striking defense of Lane. I don't like the chin of Lane. I think Tafa sparks him out here. But if Lane gets on top of Tafa, look for the live bet like right away, because I think he probably ends the fight if he gets on top of Tafa. And if you have a Tafa ticket at -175 and he gets taken down, you're going to feel very, very bad about that ticket. But I'll say Tafa knocks him out before it even gets to that point, hopefully. So give me Tafa to knock out Austin Lane, very brutal fashion. I did bet the under 1.5 rounds here, -180 for 1.5 units. Really like that line. I think anything violence is good here. Under 1.5, the fight won't start round 3. Under 2.5, fight doesn't go. All solid parlay pieces this week. Austin Lane, killer be killed fighter in the heavyweight division. Austin Lane has 15 fights, none of them going the distance. 100% finish rate in his wins. Then he's also been knocked out 3 times. All 3 of those, I believe, coming in the first round. So Tafa KO1 makes a lot of sense to me this week. In terms of DraftKings, I love Tafa 8,800. I think he has knockout upside, knockdown upside, and first round knockout upside as well. So I think Tafa puts up at least 100 in this matchup with that 90-point bonus in the first. You got a knockdown in there, and then you got some significant strikes. So I think Tafa puts up 100 at least there. So yeah, solid fight. I mean, it's a low-level fight for sure. It's just should be a fun fight, I'd say. So give me Tafa to get it done here. Lane on DK, by the way, is not terrible. Like 7,400 in a sloppy, greasy heavyweight fight. If he can get the wrestling going, he could look solid, potentially put up a big score. So I have some Lane just due to the fact that this fight is going to finish. It's heavily favored to finish. And if he does pull off the upset, he's going to be low owned, I think, and then he's going to put up a big score. But I fully expect Tafa to spark him out there. Bag of oranges at the ready. Yeah, I mean, I thought about it, but you know how bad would that suck if you laid -175 on Tafa and he went out there and got finished in the first round? I mean, I would feel very bad about myself for a while. So I'm not betting on a money line here. Which do you like more, KO round 1 or under 1.5 for Tafa Lane? I say under 1.5, just because if it turns out Lane does get on top of Tafa somehow, like just goes out there and tackles him, gets on top, I'd feel much better about the under 1.5 there. And then on the feet, I don't think Lane's the best striker, but he does have power, so maybe Lane does clip, Tafa. We've seen Tafa get knocked out by Jorgen de Castro, so I would definitely lean with the under 1.5. It's a lot more chalky than the KO one, but I think the safer route's at under there. Tafa by KO in round 1 is barely plus money, so I'm not touching that. Yeah, I'm not either. I just took the under to get the extra 7.5 minutes, but I think that KO one is the most likely scenario, and that's why it is basically almost even money on some books. All right, so we'll keep moving on here, doing really good on time. We got Amanda Hebos going against Macy Barber. And yeah, I remember like Sunday or maybe it was Monday morning checking the lines, and I saw Hebos at like -150. And I'm like, yeah, that seems about right. That seems about right. Hebos -150 around there. And then like literally like a couple hours later, I checked the lines and it's like Hebos like -200, 210. I'm like, what is going on? And it was like that with a lot of lines this week. Like Brundage was like minus 115 at one point, ended up being minus 225. Jamal Emmers became a massive favorite. The line movement on this card has just been wild. And Hebos is one of those fighters. So yeah, I think Hebos wins. I think Hebos can take down Macy Barber. The big talking point this week is Macy Barber got taken down by Andrea Lee. And yeah, that I hold a lot of stock into that, to be honest. I mean, that's not a good look to me. Macy Barber, less than a 50% takedown defense. And the thing with Amanda Hebos is when she gets you down, you're literally not getting up. You're not. You're staying there for the entire round or you're getting subbed. So I think it could be a situation where Hebos really just needs one takedown, and that's the round. So yeah, I like Hebos a lot, I'd say. But I mean, when you're laying minus 200 to minus like 210, a lot could go wrong. Macy Barber does have power. I've always been concerned about the chin of Hebos. Hebos is small for the division as well, and that's a concern. But I mean, it seems like a matchup that Hebos should go out there and win. The judges do love Macy Barber, though. Macy Barber won 2 fights that I thought she lost. She won the Andrea Lee fight that I thought she lost, and then she won the Miranda Maverick fight that I 100% thought she lost. I mean, that was a decision that made you say, you know what's going on. So we'll see what happens. I don't know. If I was forced to bet this fight, it probably would be on Hebos, but I retired from laying minus 200 on WMA fights and had a lot of success since retiring. And I'm not coming out of retirement to bet Amanda Hebos at minus 200. From a DraftKings perspective, no thank you on this fight in general. Should be a fun fight, but no thank you. I think Hebos wins. I think she scores well, but she's not outscoring some of these other fighters up in this higher range. Even like Macy Barber, I guess maybe she gets a knockout, but how likely is that, right? So it can be a pass fight for me, more than likely on a DraftKings standpoint. Austin Lane sucks. That's the only thing I'm banking on. That is honestly, that analysis is spot on. I agree. But we could argue Justin Tafa kind of sucks, right? Justin Tafa losing to Jared Vandera. So that's the only thing that scares me. Is maybe Justin Tafa sucks a little bit as well. But I agree with your analysis there. De Castro, man, poor De Castro. He is having a rough go, a very rough go as of late. So that Justin Tafa loss, or the De Castro loss for Justin Tafa, it has not aged well, and obviously losing to Jared Vandera has not aged well at all. Bree saying Barber's going to lose 2 rounds clear. And then crack the chin in round 3. I don't trust Rebecci's chin at all. Matter if nothing else hits hard, she goes for it. Yeah, that could happen. That could happen. We saw it in the Marina Rodriguez fight to a lesser extent. We saw Hebos go out there, win the first round. Second round starts. They start on the feet, and Rodriguez ends up clipping Hebos, knocking her out twice in that fight. So yeah, something like that could happen because Barber does hit very hard. She does hit very, very hard. What is Barber by knockout? It's probably something stupid. Like, I bet they're all over it this week. A plus 460. I need a lot better than plus 460. Come on. Splitty City. Yeah, we're going to do some best bet tonight. And that may or may not be my best bet probably for this fight. Split. I think split makes a lot of sense in a Macy Barber fight. Got my guy Adrian with a $10 dono. Appreciate you, Adrian. He is saying, hoping we all crush. Life's been coming fast. On that note, I will be the only guy to max Josh Emmett. Also, max bet the over 2.5 in the main event, plus 185. Goodness, Adrian. Thank you for the dono, first and foremost. Second of all, you are going against the grain big time. I don't hate the Josh Emmett. Maybe like a sprinkle. I don't know about max betting it. You have some balls there, man, but good luck to you. That's going to be an absolute sweat. But yeah, appreciate you, Adrian, there. Miranda Maverick out wrestled Barber. Yeah, she did. It's not that good. Plus 450 makes, yeah, you never know. Maybe it is going to happen. Plus 450 is very, very low. Way too low for my liking to even consider playing Macy Barber. I need at least like 8-1, 9-1 to even consider something like that. All right, main event time. Very good main event. Elia Taporia going against Josh Emmett. Really looking forward to this fight. I do have 2 bets here, 2 very small sprinkles. Don't really like much on this fight. I I don't like the line for Taporia. I think Josh Emmett's getting very disrespected here. Minus 310. There's not much you can do. Even Taporia inside the distance, like minus 240. Again, not much you could do here. What I did, though, it's a little bit like the Sarukian fight last week. So for the Sarukian fight last week, they had the first round prop for Sarukian, like minus 130, something like that. And because it was so heavily favored to end in the first round, we got the Sarukian second round prop at like plus 400, 500 something. And then the third round prop at plus 1300. So I sprinkled the second and third round props for Sarukian, and he was able to get that third round finish. I'm doing the same thing here. I think it's going to be kind of a feeling out process in this first round, this early going. It's Taporia's first 5-round fight. Both guys have a ton of power. I think it waits a little bit. I think we start the fight. They start going at it in the second. And then when they start going at it, Taporia is very, very dangerous wherever this fight goes. On the feet, he has a ton of power. And then on the mat, he's a legit black belt in BJJ. Phenomenal grappler. So what I did was I sprinkled the Taporia round 2 and the Taporia round 3. Quarter unit on each. Taporia round 2 plus 510. I personally think it is in round 2. And then Taporia in round 3 plus 1100 quarter units. So small sprinkles on Taporia round 2 and 3. I see a lot of people playing like the fight starts round 2. I think it's a solid play. I'm not playing it personally, but I think it's a solid play. I think it's a solid play that hits. But yeah, give me Taporia to get him out of there in the second or third round. If you're on the Emmett side, I mean, Emmett knockout is like plus 500. I think that's very interesting. We've seen Taporia hurt before against Jai Herbert, and I think if Emmett is to pull off the upset, I think it's by knockout. So that's kind of how I would attack Emmett, but I'm just sprinkling this fight. I don't have much action on this main event, just a half unit total on it for these Taporia sprinkles, hoping it starts kind of slow, starts to pick up, and Taporia finishes in that second or third. All right, a couple more minutes before we head out here, guys. Any final comments, questions, or concerns? We got Raw saying Taporia rounds 1 and 2. Yeah, what is the line on that? I bet it's pretty juiced, though, is the only thing. But yeah, I think I'm leaning round 2 myself. Yeah, you're right about Tafa. I'll be screaming if he ends up on his back. Yeah, I live in Australia, so oh yeah, absolutely. You got to support the Australia guys. There you go. And Tafa hits hard. I mean, Tafa's he's solid. He's solid. Very fun fighter to watch. Backing Jack Jenkins trained with him before here in Melbourne a couple years back. There you go. Yeah, I don't hate that bet on Jack Jenkins. I think he's a very live dog this week. I'm on that plus 3.5 point spread myself. All right, so going to quickly go through my bets. I also did a betting breakdown video breaking them all down that is posted already on the channel. My 2.5 unit parlay, my biggest play of the night is on that under 2.5 in the Brundage Dumas parlayed with the peak under 2.5. 2.5 units minus 142. I had the Onama Santos fight doesn't go. 1.5 units minus 145. I have 1.5 units on the Lane Tafa under minus 180. I have 1.5 units on the Allen Silva under 2.5 minus 180. I have 1 unit on the Jenkins point spread on Draftkings plus 3.5 minus 130. I have a half unit on the Brown KO plus 195. Half a unit on the Zalgas fight doesn't go plus 138. Quarter unit on Zalgas sub plus 1400. And then a quarter unit sprinkle on Taporia round 2 plus 510. Quarter unit on Taporia round 3 plus 1100. 0.15 units Magny sub 2 plus 3800. And then 0.10 units Magny sub 3 plus 4400. Some spots I was potentially looking at. Let's see here. So nothing in the Brundage fight, although Brundage KO1 plus 900 is interesting, but nothing in the Brundage fight, nothing in the Emmers fight, nothing in the Peak fight, nothing in the Richie fight, Rashadov. Turman sub plus 600. I think that's literally his win condition. I think that's a play with some value. And then David Onama KO1. I think that's his win condition plus 1100. And then Santos 2-3 are also some interesting sprinkles, I'd say. But I don't know if I'm going to add any of that. I think I'm going to stick with what I got. 10 units on the line, 12 bets. Feeling solid about this card. I think we're going to get some violence for sure in this one. I will bet every over on the one rounds. Yeah, I think it does go over 1 round. Emmett first round KO plus 1400 and second is plus 1800. There you go. Over 6.5 number of finishes this week. I think I'm gonna take the over. Brundage finishes. That's 1. I think Peak finishes, that's 2. Brown finishes, that's 3. I think Allen finishes, that's 4. I think Santo finishes, that's 5. Tafa finishes, that's 6. And then Tapia finishes, that's 7. And then I also think Neil Magny is live for a finish. And I also think that Zalgas, that fight's live to finish. But I think it's probably going to be around 7 or 8 this week. If the under hits, I don't know. I'd be a little surprised for this card. How do you feel about the Tafa fight to end in KO as a parlay piece? Yeah, I actually was considering doing that. I think I saw it on Bet Rivers at like minus 320, something like that, which the fight doesn't go is like minus 600, 700. So yeah, I think it's a solid parlay piece. I even had a parlay cooked up. I was going to parlay the fight ends by knockout, parlayed with the main event, fight doesn't go, but it's like minus 200. So, but I think it's a solid parlay piece. If you could find something to pair it up with, but I couldn't really find anything to pair it up with. Yeah, very, very sharp line. We'll see if that over or under hits. I feel only one. I feel it. All right, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. Go enjoy some PFL. I'll be back in 2 hours. 2 hours with Blood Money, breaking down the card, doing the best bets. We're gonna go through, give our 10 best bets for the card, and yeah, wake up early tomorrow, enjoy the fight. Should be a good time. Best of luck, everybody, for UFC Jacksonville. We'll talk to you soon. And don't parlay Trevor Peak. Don't parlay. I mean, if you want to play Pete, I just play him straight. I would not parlay him. But yeah, he could absolutely be a parlay buster. I think there's a multitude of parlay busters. Like Tafa can bust parlays. Hebos can bust parlays. Even Allen can bust parlays. Magny can absolutely bust parlays. Randy Brown can bust your parlays. Trevor Peak, I wouldn't parlay him, but yeah, he could bust your parlays. Lots of parlay busters this week, so I'd be careful. The only 2 money lines I felt good about even considering parlaying was Tatsura Taira, and he's literally off the card, so that's out of the equation. And then Tapia, but even that I don't feel amazing about. So I'm not parlaying up any money lines this week personally, but good luck if you do. It seems like kind of like a minefield this week, but you gotta pick your spots and try not to pick the one that's going to crap in the bed. So we'll see. All right, guys, heading out. Best of luck, and we'll talk to you soon. See you later.